an incredible year it has been since Descendants 5 with Wonderland was first announced. They started developing it last summer, and on May 28th, 2025, Descendants 5 had finished production. And now, a year later, we are excited just 1 month away from Descendants 5's premiere, and whoever thought we would ever get here as quickly as what we did. It's really hard to believe that it's been a year since Descendants 5 finished production, and over almost 2 years since the project was announced. And we've seen so many beautiful characters kind of be reintroduced into this franchise, and some new characters that we've never seen before. So as a result of everything happening the way that it has, we have so much to be excited about and a whole lot to get into. And if you would love to be a part of these conversations, I would love for you to be a part of them too. Because the one thing that I've realized about this niche is that from within this niche there are so many incredibly supportive people who believe in their favorite characters and their stories and are proudly represented the way they've been told. And I've loved being a part of these stories from the very beginning. I really feel like I've been a part of something special from the very first moment that I ever created a video about Descendants of Zombies, because every day somebody would subscribe here. The one thing that I was always worried about was that people would never be acceptant of me and how I felt about Descendants of Zombies, because the reality of my life is I'm just like each and every one of you. And I'm going to be honest with you guys right out of the gate. I never know what's going to happen in Descendants of Zombies from one moment to the next. But I've always believed that's what makes it so exciting for me to be a journalist and a columnist. The responsibility of a journalist and a columnist is to give you guys hope. Now, while 95% of the journalists and columnists who try to review Descendants of Zombies and make sense of it will never admit this to you guys, the responsibility of us is to give you guys hope. And I always wanted to give you guys hope, to let you know that Zombies 5 was coming regardless of how people felt about it, because there were people out there who were saying that Zombies 5 should never have happened, should never have been created, because they didn't want to give this one much of a chance. We had seen 4 zombies movies and people felt that was enough. The story should have been told and completed when Zen Addison said goodbye. But what we're setting ourselves up for here is the retelling of a beautiful love story through the eyes of Nova and Victor. And I really do believe that through the eyes of Nova and Victor, this is really going to be something that a lot of people are going to have a special place in their heart for many years to come. I myself love Nova and Victor's story, and I'm excited to see where this one goes, because there are people out there who even love Nova and Victor's love story more than they ever did Zen Addison's. I think that Nova and Victor's story is well on its way to really becoming one of the most revered power couple stories ever told, because when they finally do say the words "I love you" to each other, it is really going to mean more to fans of this new generation. And as you build it up over time, there is going to be so much emotion packed behind what we believe in when it comes to these characters, because they had seen each other in a reoccurring dream. And that was one of the most beautiful things about this story, was that how they had seen each other in a reoccurring dream, and we never really think that's going to happen for us when we see somebody in our dreams, and we wonder if we've ever really met them in real life, or if this could ever really happen for us. I think one of the most beautiful things about Zombies 4 Dawn of the Vampires is it gave people a chance to believe in this kind of thing happening for them, and more people took away that belief after having seen Zombies 4 Dawn of the Vampires, which for many of us was the first time ever. We thought, hey, this could happen for me. And it made more believers out of us than ever before, as the story of Descendants, The Rise of Red, had already done before too. It had made more believers out of us. And I think that as time went on, more people gradually fell in love with the story for the fashion sense, for the peer pressure that was exemplified in Descendants, more especially because there were a lot of peer pressure angles discussed in Descendants, the original trilogy, because of how the friendship between Mal and Evie really helped them see everything through. Those villains in the original trilogy were under a lot of peer pressure, and also Red was under a lot of peer pressure, but I don't think the peer pressure in The Rise of Red was really any comparison to whatever happened in the original trilogy, because I think that Mal and Evie were faced with the most peer pressure, and I think that a lot of people could really make sense of their story better because of how peer pressure was really the emphasis and the exemplification of just how much further kindness can really take a person in this lifetime when you're really there for each other. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things forever and always about whatever aspect of this franchise that we look at, is how friendships kind of just happen for us kind of at randomcy. We never really expect that friendships are going to happen for us the way they do. We meet people in some of the most unexplainable ways and fashions, but we remain friends for forever and always, and we became that much closer together because of what Descendants of Zombies have proudly represented, this era of empowerment, these coming-of-age stories for people like Red and Chloe and Mal and Evie. There were so many beautiful stories found within this franchise. You may have had to look closer to see what those stories were and how they were being told, but there were so many stories that we all took something special away from. And I always love being a part of those stories. Not only just to sit here and talk about Descendants of Zombies the way I had the chance to, but to hear your stories about how you guys became fans and how you were so passionate about collecting Descendants of Zombies dolls, which I never saw anything wrong with. I always found that if you collected Descendants of Zombies dolls, it was just simply showcasing your passion. There are so many people out there. I was at the game store the other day who have these kind of passions. I was at the game store the other day, and I know I'm such a loser for picking up the latest copy of Lego Batman, but I have all the Lego Batman video games, so I bought the new Lego Batman video game, which I showed you guys yesterday. I'll show it to you again later on today because I still haven't unpackaged it. But I was at the game store the other day, and there were these girls there, and they have this section in the game store where you go behind a glass case and you get these Pokemon cards or these game trading cards. And there were so many girls there who were so passionate about collecting Pokemon trading cards. They bought them by the hundreds of packages. And it was just amazing to me seeing how even girls of this generation are so passionate about collecting Pokemon cards. I grew up in a generation where collecting Pokemon cards simply just happened because you had a crush on a guy who loved Yu-Gi-Oh! Or loved Might and Magic, which was a card game years ago that probably many of you aren't familiar with. But I grew up in a generation where if a girl collected trading cards, she collected trading cards because she had the biggest crush in the world on you. I knew girls who used to watch pro wrestling years ago because I was a huge wrestling fan, and they were trying to let me know that they were trying to, gain interest and respect for what I loved because they had the biggest crushes in the world on me. The thing was, they never ever did tell me they had the biggest crushes in the world on me. They just simply just started watching wrestling. And even if they couldn't make sense of what wrestling was really all about or the storylines, they watched it because they wanted to relate to you. And that's one of the most beautiful things about life, how if a girl had a crush on you back in the 90s, she would collect Pokemon cards. She may have never known what the name of the Pokemons were or who her favorite Pokemon was to begin with, but she simply did it because she loved you and she wanted you to know that. And I think that in this generation, things like trends are becoming more popular, not just because people love each other, but because they want to relate to each other. And I think that's what Descendants of Zombies has really taught us, is that we need to value things like time and really appreciate friendships, because friendships really take us the distance and really help us make sense of everything happening around us. And I've always appreciated people for how they've always been there for each other. I really do believe that people are there for each other more because of what Descendants of Zombies taught us, and I think the music really had a greater emphasis on just how to appreciate Descendants of Zombies for its true worth. Like a song like Space Between. We never ever thought that ballad would be as powerful as what it became, but it was really an emphasis on just how important the friendship between Mel and Evie actually was and how they really felt about each other. Because even in the interviews that they were doing after Descendants 2 had finished production, people like Sophia Carson and Dove Cameron were always there to proudly talk about the friendship and the mutual understanding they had for each other. And Red and Chloe's friendship is kind of following in the footsteps of that friendship, but also in their own way, because their friendship was very different from the friendship of Mel and Evie, because I think Mel and Evie's friendship was based on empowerment, and then Red and Chloe's friendship was based on personal struggles and peer pressure. I think that their friendship really made Descendants: The Rise of Red extra special for so many wonderful people who may have been going through the same kind of thing, and people found relatable thoughts in that, and really felt a part of it because of how their story was told for the first time ever. Because we never imagined going into The Rise of Red, this story would have been told as powerfully as what it was. And so many people would have came away as believers in what we're going to see in Wicked Wonderland. Because I don't even think at the conclusion of The Rise of Red, we ever imagined we'd be setting ourselves up for what we're about to witness in The Rise of Red, or in the Wicked Wonderland, sequel. Because in the Wicked Wonderland sequel, there are going to be so many moments where storylines are just going to kind of happen. And I can guarantee you that even with how the storylines are just going to kind of happen, we're going to set ourselves up for even more storylines and future installments. Because what this is, it was never really intended to be a trilogy. What it's intended to be is an arch, which is pretty much a continuation of what Descendants actually was. So you can keep on going with this for forever, and you can always take away a greater appreciation for the characters and their stories. Because with all these new characters coming into this franchise, what we're seeing and setting ourselves up for is an expansion. And I've always wanted to be a part of expansions because, to be honest with you guys, I've never wanted to say goodbye to stories. I've never wanted to let go of stories, because stories give us hope, and stories really give us something to believe in. And I really believe that Descendants of Zombies not only gave you guys something to believe in, but it gave me something to believe in. It made me feel stronger as a person. It obviously made me feel more connected to all of you and allowed me to understand you in ways that I never imagined that I would have ever had the chance to relate to all of you in so many unimaginable ways. But I had the chance to because I believed in Descendants just as much as you did, and it was all about me earning your acceptance, earning a chance to really showcase the story of Descendants of Zombies the way that it was forever and always meant to be talked about. So when we talked about love stories like Zed and Addison's, we were excited to find out what was going to happen next because it was truly going to be something so special. It was going to give us something to really hold on to and believe in more than we ever had before. When we talked about the friendship story of Red and Chloe, it was all about how they were there for each other. And now we're excited for moments like this brand new ballad, this duet coming out for Red and Chloe, which is rumored to be happening in Descendants 5 with Wonderland. We do know that Red has her own kind of love ballad happening in this story. So for the first time ever, we're going to be kind of reintroduced to Red and what she's all about because she was this fearless character. She was somebody who all she ever wanted to do was paint Wonderland red. And when she finally had the chance to, she really exceeded all of her expectations. So setting us up, to be a part of this beautiful now ballad, kind of a Dove Cameron kind of ballad, is really wonderful. And I think it's going to give more people a chance to really believe into something special and really to hold on to something special. I'm just so excited to be here for it at just 9:06 a.m. in the morning. And I know that is really early to be recording my thoughts on Descendants of Zombies, but when you have a story to share with everybody, I really think you should. That's why I've often encouraged these stars to write memoirs and autobiographies because it will really allow them to introduce themselves to us in ways that Disney probably never ever allowed them to introduce themselves to us because I think when a star writes their memoirs or an autobiography, it really puts themselves out there in a way that they never had the chance to before because Disney's all about, saying what they can and what they can't do. And I think that putting them under too many restrictions is never the way to go about it. I think that I would love to sit down as a writer and producer and get to know them for who they are. Even if I couldn't do that, I would try more and more to make an effort to get to know who they were because I would be there for every step of the moment because I think that when you're there for every step of the moment, you give people more support emotionally and you make them feel more connected to the stories that they have a chance to be a part of. And as a writer and producer, the most important thing is understanding your audience. It's one way of looking at it to bring a story to life, yes, but when you understand your audience for the people that they are and who exist from within your audience, it really allows you to gain a greater appreciation for who they are and really allows you to bring stories to life in ways that you never even imagined. Like, I don't even think Kenny Ortega or Jennifer Fang, as some examples I can throw your way, ever thought that Descendants would become what it did. Such a phenomenon where people were so passionate about collecting the dolls and the fashion sense. It is really a trend. Like years ago, over 100 years ago, Mickey Mouse was just a character. Nobody ever thought that Mickey Mouse would go on to become such a fashion icon like he did. He's on virtually every piece of clothing that you can pick up for men and women alike. It's not just kids that Mickey Mouse is appealing to. There are people who are referred to as Disney adults. I know this because I'm one of them. So as a result of being a Disney adult, every piece of clothing I have just about has a Mickey Mouse logo or a crest. I have a $200 Mickey Mouse leather jacket that I'm very proud to wear. So the same logic applies to your Descendants of Zombies Worlds Collide Tour hoodies. If you've ever felt passionate about something and never ever taken off those hoodies, then more power to you. I really found time in supporting that, and I really found time in encouraging that, because we only have one life to live, one go around in this life. So if we're going to make ourselves stand out and proudly represent anything that we're passionate about, why not Descendants of Zombies? Because it's made us feel so closer together. It's made us feel a part of something so extraordinarily special. And I had the chance to be a part of that with all of you, because if you're ever somebody who ever believed in a story, things like true love and fairy tales, then I think this could be the YouTube channel for you. From my heart to yours, thank you to everybody who have recently subscribed here to this YouTube channel. We will keep this conversation going for just a little while longer because Descendants of Zombies still has a long way to go, and this story is far from over. And I intend on keeping these stories and these franchises alive for what intends to be forever in my heart, because I've never wanted to say goodbye, and I've never wanted to let go. So if you are somebody who would love to be a part of this journey and come along on what has truly been an unforgettable journey for me and all of us together who have came together and created something so special, please do hit my subscribe button and hit my like button, because we still have a long way to go, and I've just felt so honored to be a part of it and to be right here to have experienced everything that I've had in these 10 years, because it's been an incredible 10 years. And it's really hard to believe that a decade has kind of come and gone. But we still have so much magic to be a part of, so many unforgettable moments we have already been a part of and yet to be a part of, and so many people yet to have to fall in love with these franchises. So because we still have a long way to go, we have so much to be excited about and a whole lot to get into in terms of a conversation that I look forward to having with all of you. So from my heart to yours, thank you so much for being the loyal fans of Descendants of Zombies you always have been, proudly representing yourselves for having been. And thank you from my heart to yours for always and forever having watched these videos.